in boxing, but I do think when you actually come up against a proper serious boxer, and I suspect that Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. may be that person, it could all come crashing down.
Is that you think that your opinion matters?
No, I don't think it's good. I think he train hard, but it's not good fighter.
Point is, I think he's coming into this fight with the right approach, with the right mindset.
Experts in boxing are betting that Jake Paul will be knocked out by Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in the 5th round of their upcoming fight. They believe Chavez Jr.'s seasoned experience, raw power, and sharp ring intelligence will overwhelm Paul, potentially ending the bout early. Many consider this the most challenging test Jake has faced against a veteran opponent with real fight credentials.
So I've just interviewed your opponent, Julio, very confident, says he's going to knock you out in the 9th round.
Yeah, man, you know, he's a dumbass, and so it's gonna be apparent on Saturday when he's the one that gets knocked.
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. didn't hold back when asked about Jake Paul's skills. He made it clear that, despite Paul's dedication and training, the results don't impress him. Chavez Jr. emphasized that boxing is more than just hard work. It's about instinct, rhythm, and proven fight experience, qualities he claims Jake still needs to demonstrate at the professional level.
But one thing I've gotten off him during this week is that he's viewing this fight as at least a pathway to some form of redemption. He's not going to get all his fans back. He's not going to redeem himself on the eyes of the fans of his father. But if he can beat Jake Paul and beat him convincingly, maybe don't think quite so much about quitting against Daniel Jacobs or against Fanfara or that terrible performance against Anderson Silva. Like, I think, point is, I think he's coming into this fight with the right approach, with the right mindset. I promise you, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is not just here for a payday. He is not just here to collect a check and to get whitewashed by Jake Paul over 10 rounds. He's coming to win. He may not win. Jake could turn out to be even better than maybe people generally think, but he's coming to win, and I think it's going to be a competitive.
Piers Morgan, a well-known media personality, voiced his skepticism about Jake Paul's boxing journey. He pointed out that Paul has yet to face a true professional boxer in their prime. For Morgan, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. represents the genuine test, an opponent who could truly challenge Paul's skills. The boxing community increasingly agrees that Chavez Jr. has the technical ability and ring IQ to beat Paul convincingly.
Shit. YouTube this, YouTube that, Disney that. This shit is not a joke. I'm knocking out the best of the best, beating all of these people time in and time again. And it's about time that you old heads and all these fucking boxers who think they know about the sport put some respect on my name.
Yeah, but you're not going to get... Look, you're going to make a ton of money. I think, businessman, you are brilliant, right? I give you full credit for that. When you took on Mike Tyson as a business enterprise, there's no argument. You absolutely crushed the numbers, crushed the money, and everything else. The idea that you can say, on the one hand, I'm a killer, I get in the ring with the best people, and you get in the ring with a guy who's 50, is literally nearly as old as me.
I'm not talking about Mike Tyson. I'm talking about Anderson Silva, Tyron Woodley, champions in their sport, Golden Gloves champions, Ryan Moreland, Andre August, undefeated fighters. The list goes.
But what great boxer have you been in the ring with?
World champion on Saturday, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., son of the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, besides me, of course. Like, I don't know what you guys want to see. I tried to fight Canelo. He ducked out of it. You asked him about that. You said he's going to kill me. So what do you want? You're laughing when you say, oh, Jake is going to fight Canelo. I think you would kill him. But then you're like, oh, you're not fighting this guy. You're the problem here with this whole situation and criticism of my career. I'm trying to fight the best people, and that's why Chavez is here on Saturday. I want Canelo. I want Anthony Joshua. I want all these people. It's been 5 years in this sport.
But the problem is, the only proper boxer you fought was Tommy Fury, and he beat you. And he's not even the best. He's not even the best fighter in his family.
Golden Gloves champion Andre August, Brian Moreland as well. Anderson Silva was an undefeated boxer. I mean, you can sit there and make up shit, but you actually don't know your facts. I fought multiple boxers with professional records, and including Mike Tyson himself, who I think is going to be a harder fight than Chavez.
Veteran trainer Robert Garcia weighed in, asserting that Chavez Jr. doesn't need anything extraordinary to win, just show up and box. He believes Chavez Jr.'s experience, natural talent, and tactical smarts make him a dangerous opponent, especially for fighters who lack proper professional seasoning. Garcia's words underscore the importance of ring craft and experience in high-stakes fights.
I love it. You love it. He's cool. I love it.
Okay, if he wins, what does it say?
Chavez gonna win.
Or what does that say if he beats Jake Paul?
Not much. Just a good win. A lot of millions of dollars, and then maybe do a rematch, which is bad. Make a lot of money.
Even boxing legend Manny Pacquiao has shared his perspective, clearly favoring Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Pacquiao, renowned for his sharp instincts, sees Chavez Jr. as the superior fighter. His endorsement carries significant weight, as he understands firsthand what it takes to succeed at the highest levels. For Pacquiao, the fight's outcome leans heavily in Chavez Jr.'s favor due to his experience and pedigree.
But yeah, asking about Jake Paul. Who do you got in the Jake Paul fight?
Jake Paul, Julio.
Viva Julio! Oh, shit.
Julio's winning.
Oh, that's Manny's manager. He's putting it out there.
I'll see you Saturday night for Julio.
Sources within boxing circles report that Chavez Jr. isn't relying on his name alone for this fight. Unlike expectations of a mere payday, he's approaching the bout with full seriousness, training intensely, staying focused, and viewing Jake Paul as a legitimate challenge. This mental shift is crucial because in boxing, underestimating an opponent can be costly.
But one thing I've gotten off him during this week is that he's viewing this fight as at least a pathway to some form of redemption. He's not going to get all his fans back. He's not going to redeem himself on the eyes of the fans of his father. But if he can beat Jake Paul and beat him convincingly, maybe don't think quite so much about quitting against Daniel Jacobs or against Fanfara or that terrible performance against Anderson Silva. Like, I think the point is, I think he's coming into this fight with the right approach, with the right mindset. I promise you, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is not just here for a payday. He is not just here to collect a check and to get whitewashed by Jake Paul over 10 rounds. He's coming to win. He may not win. Jake could turn out to be even better than maybe people generally think, but he's coming to win, and I think it's going to be a competitor.
Veteran boxer Gabe Rosado offered insight into what often determines the outcome in big fights: experience. While Jake Paul has youth and momentum, Chavez Jr. has been through the crucible facing championship rounds, brutal wars, and the grind of real professional boxing. Rosado noted that these battle scars and ring lessons can't be replaced by training alone.
I really don't know his habits. He has a bad track record on, preparing. But look, man, if Chavez comes in at least 50%, I think Jake really has a fight, because one thing that Chavez has is experience. He may not have the youth, and the agility that Jake has right now, but he does have the experience. I think that experience will give Jake a problem.
I completely agree with you. I think this is an excellent fight for Jake Paul. Officially, he is 11-1, but he's really like 2-1 as a boxer. He's fought Tommy Fury. He fought a couple of no-name cruiserweights. I guess if you want to throw Mike Perry into that list, you could say he's 3-1. But against guys that are traditional boxers, he's a 2-1 fight.
Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. didn't hesitate to support his son's confidence, warning Jake Paul that what's coming will be unlike anything he's faced before. His firm belief in Chavez Jr.'s ability isn't just based on genetics but also on witnessing his son's sacrifices to regain form and focus. Chavez Sr. sees this as more than a fight, it's a test of true boxing resilience.
He knows exactly what to do. Jake Paul just fought against Mike Tyson, who didn't even throw one punch. This is not Mike Tyson. You are gonna get your ass whooped.
No hay manera de que le gane Jake Paul.
There is no way Jake Paul can.
Esta preparación que hizo Julio, Jake Paul no la sabe, ¿entiendes?
This camp, Jake Paul doesn't know.
Va a ir a tirarle chingazos y Jake Paul va a andar corriendo como gallina.
Julio's gonna go in throwing some serious punches, and you're gonna be running like a chicken without a head.
Many skeptics question the authenticity of this matchup, citing Jake Paul's history of facing retired athletes and YouTubers. There's concern that the fight might be a media stunt rather than a genuine contest. Still, even a slightly out-of-form Chavez Jr. has fought elite opponents and earned credibility through his scars and experience, making this more than just a spectacle.
Let's talk about this one here. This Saturday, June 28th, we've got Jake Paul. He's going to take on Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I don't know if this is a real fight or if it's a fake one, so let's talk about this. Alright, let's say this is a real fight, because I don't know, you know, I don't want to sound like a hater, but some of Jake Paul's fights look like they've been staged. So let's say this is a real fight, this is the real deal. Listen man, Chavez Jr. has never been the greatest boxer out here. He's lacked in discipline, he's lacked in the sport, but nevertheless he is a credible opponent. Jake Paul on the other hand, I don't know, you know. Some of the fights look staged, some of the knockouts look like the guys have been paid. With that being said, the problem child is taking on Chavez Jr. this weekend. Let's take a look at both men's professional record. Yes, I said professional record. This is the box rec. This is Jake Paul's professional record. Alright, cool. Let's get into it. 11 wins, 7 coming via knockout and 1 loss. Let's take a look at Jake Paul's actual professional record. So he's fought 3 professional boxers, 1 Tommy Fury, 1 Andre August, and 1 Ryan Burns.
Oscar de la Hoya, a boxing legend himself, strongly supports the competitive potential of this fight. He views Chavez Jr. as a significant upgrade in opposition for Jake Paul, arguing that this bout will truly test Jake's skills and resilience. De la Hoya considers it his most challenging fight yet for Jake, given Chavez Jr.'s experience and fighting spirit.
Canelo back down, all that kind of stuff, but is this, you know, another name that just, like I said, gives the detractors more feel for their fighter? Does this help Jake at all?
I don't think it's really gonna help him that much. I mean, he was in the sense that he fought a legitimate fighter. Actually was a professional fighter and a world champion. But to get him after a 5-year layoff, and him being inactive, it's almost like fighting Mike Tyson.
I mean, it's like the same thing. It's like an older guy past his prime who hasn't fought in a long time. You know, I guess he doesn't have an MMA career behind him, so maybe that's a good thing, but it's all the same thing that people have always complained about.
Yeah, but I think it's a fight that Jake can win. I mean, legitimately win.
Jeff Mayweather offers a cautious view, questioning how much of Chavez Jr.'s old skill remains. He notes that Julio's prime days are behind him, and the timing might favor Jake, who's younger and in better shape. Mayweather suggests this fight could be more about adding a former champion to Jake's record than truly testing his talent, warning that it might look better on paper than in reality.
How good is Jake Paul's next opponent, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.? Can he pull off the upset and beat Jake? Now, Chavez Jr. in his prime was a really solid fighter. 46-0, 4-time WBC middleweight champion. This is him against Sergio Martinez, a top 3 pound-for-pound fighter. You know, hurt him bad with the left hook, dropped him in the 12th round, nearly got finished, but Martinez did end up winning this fight. And then after losing the title in 2017, this is him versus Canelo in 2017. You know, solid pressure fighter, body shots, decent hand speed. These are pretty much his only highlights in the fight. You know, but he pretty much lost every round 12-0. Still, he did go the distance with Canelo. Then you get to his most recent fight versus Uriah Hall at cruiserweight, where he still got some decent body shots. He looks considerably slower fighting at a heavier weight class. His footwork is a bit plotty, and he's not as fast. You know, look, Chavez Jr., he's not a bad fighter. He's never been a bad fighter. But what he is very undisciplined, considerably slower and more flat-footed. 39 years old fighting at cruiserweight. You know, the technicality, the experience, they will give him a 25 to 30% chance. The youth, size, speed of Jake, that'll give him more of the edge.
The debate centers on whether youth or experience matters more in boxing. Jake Paul has the edge in energy and conditioning, but Chavez Jr. brings timing, technique, and ring intelligence to the table. Experts believe that Chavez's speed, defense, and ring control could be the deciding factors, making this clash a fascinating mix of fresh ambition and seasoned craft.
Let's find a real boxer. This one's an ex-world champion. He's way smaller when he was competing.
Yeah.
He had to come up to my weight. He's the son of a legend. I'm now Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
He's Mexican. It's the best you could do. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
From a business standpoint, is brilliant. You can't really do better than that if you're not trying to feed man to the wolves, but you're trying to make it appear so.
But do you reckon it's going to generate numbers?
Good question.
It depends how they market it.
It depends what Chavez comes on.
Yeah.
Because Jake won't be able to push this himself. It depends what Chavez comes on. If Chavez comes on some like, listen bro,
I'm going to teach you boxing.
I'm gonna teach you boxing.
Yeah.
Then it can sell.
That type of energy.
But if he comes on the vibe we know he's on, which is why even his dad don't use.
This fight has major commercial appeal. Jake Paul's massive social media following combined with Chavez Jr.'s boxing legacy creates a media spectacle. It appeals to both traditional boxing fans curious about Chavez's return and younger audiences drawn to Jake's online influence. The result is a highly marketable matchup, promising strong ticket sales and high viewership, benefiting both fighters' reputations and wallets.
So Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who wins? Now this fight should really come down to two things. The youth of Jake versus the experience and technicality of Chavez Jr. Now Jake will probably be the faster guy, carries more power at cruiserweight. I don't think he's got good footwork by any means. Chavez Jr. does look more plotty at cruiserweight. Considering he is a middleweight/super middleweight, moving up in weight later in his career. Now Chavez Jr., I do think he does a lot of things better than Jake. Offensively, his hand positioning is better, his lead left hook is better, his combinations and body shots are a lot more technical. But ultimately, it comes down to can he execute the way he used to. If you look at his last fight against Uriah Hall, he didn't throw as much volume as he used to. Like I said, looked a lot heavier on the feet. This was a 6-round fight. Who knows how his cardio will hold up in a 10-rounder against Jake. But since Chavez Jr. is quite durable, you know, he went 12 with Canelo, went 12 with Sergio Martinez. I do think Jake wins this one by decision, just being the more active guy on the front foot. But for Chavez Jr. having any chance to win, he's got to throw 2-3 times more punches than he did in his last couple of fights.
Some say Jake Paul isn't a real fighter and won't truly be tested here. The main factor is whether Chavez Jr. decides to show up and fight seriously conditioned and experienced enough to win. Paul's team has been cautious about tough matchups since the Tommy Fury fight, mainly choosing opponents who are not in their prime. If Jake truly aims to step up as a serious boxer, he'll need to take real risks otherwise, critics argue, this fight might be more about hype than true challenge.
Making news, Jake Paul is going to be taking on former world champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in a fight that I think is going to fool a lot of people. Now what do I mean by fool a lot of people? What I mean is people are going to on paper look at this and be like, oh, Jake Paul gets schooled here, Chavez Jr. is 39. He was not known as a very disciplined boxer during his prime. That's one of the reasons he has such a heavy decline. He's also a lot smaller than Jake Paul. What we'll say about Jake Paul is he is a genius, or his team and management are geniuses at giving him opponents that people on paper look at and be like, oh, Jake Paul's not a real fighter, he won't be able to beat this guy. This is very, 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 very minimal risk for Jake Paul. The only factor that could come into play here is if Chavez Jr. decides he actually wants to show up properly for this fight, condition and use his experience to win. But Jake Paul, for me, and his team are very, very careful about who they matchmake him against ever since the Tommy Fury fight. You know, ever since here, we haven't seen him in there with someone his own age, his own weight, and his own sort of experience. For me, Jake Paul wants to be a YouTube boxer still, and he wants to be considered an influencer boxer. Matchmaking him against these guys that on paper, oh, this is a big challenge for Jake Paul, in reality not really, is okay. But I think if Jake Paul actually is what he says he wants to be, and he wants to make that step up, man, he's going to have to take risks.